Friends, I am B. Singh, founder and director, NEXTIAS and MEDG Group. You are watching Civil Services Examination Toppers Talk 2018. Civil Services is one of the toughest examination of India, and it is the best service to the nation and society. Every child dreams to become civil servant. Such civil servants are with me today. Yes, Mr. Utkarsh. Utkarsh has qualified Civil Services 2018 with All India rank 306. He is a mechanical engineer. He did B.Tech from NIT Kurukshetra in 2014. His hometown is Haridwar, and it was his first interview of civil services. Currently, he is working in the Indian Railway Services through the Engineering Services Examination 2016. And one more thing, he qualified Indian Forest Services Examination also this year in 2018 with All India rank 14. So, Utkarsh, congratulations on your achievement.
Thank you, sir.
And best wishes for the future. The second candidate with me is Mr. Deepak Kumar Mishra. Deepak is also a mechanical engineer. B.Tech from IIT Delhi in 2015. His hometown is Siwan, Bihar, and it was his second interview. Currently, he is also working in Indian Railway Services through the Engineering Services 2016 examination, and he has secured All India rank 511 this year in Civil Services examination. Deepak, welcome to you also, and congratulations. Civil Services is not easy to qualify. There is need of strategy, planning, and the right source of study and the right mechanism to be followed. So we will discuss all these aspects which may be useful and it may be helpful to those aspirants who are preparing for the civil services next year. Utkarsh, my first question is that when you decided to go for the civil services examination?
Sir, I decided to go for civil services while I was working in Bangalore.
Right.
It was a firm which I got placed in through campus placement from NIT Kurukshetra. So when I was working there, I was not satisfied with the kind of work I was given. So I decided to go for the civil services exam.
Right. Yes. Okay. And Deepak, when you took the decision, because you are already in the engineering services?
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, basically, I am from a very small village in Bihar, which lacks the basic amenities like roads, electricity, and access to hospital. And so for everything, we used to face problems. And then we got to know that to change the things, you have to reach those places where you can begin the change, where you can become the change. And so from the childhood age itself, I think I had that in mind that I have to clear this exam one day. And I think
that is how you started.
Yes.
Right. Civil services, everyone dreams, but it is difficult. This is fact. When engineers start preparing, especially the general studies portion is very wide and difficult. So what was your approach for the GS section, Utkarsh?
So I cleared engineering services in 2016.
Right.
So I started preparing for civil services after that only.
Okay.
And as a result of clearing the engineering services exam, so I was confident enough that I'll be choosing a particular optional. As we see that many people take a lot of time in deciding the optional. And even after deciding the optional, they are not sure that they'll be able to clear the exam with that particular optional.
Right.
So my first thing was done that I was firmly fixed on the mechanical engineering as optional.
Okay.
And secondly, since it was already given GATE and engineering services, so I was very much prepared for mechanical engineering. So I started focusing on general studies from the start only.
Right.
And I started following various standard books as they are being followed, like various toppers speak about those. So I started following those standard books. And I also took guidance of the online videos of various platforms. And I also took various notes available in the market. So the sources are in the market for general studies, but the key is to fix particular sources and re-revise all those sources again and again.
When there are several sources available in the market, there are several online portals, several coaching classes. How you decided to choose the best source for your profession?
So basically, the market is filled with ocean of knowledge.
Right.
And we have to see that which is important for us and where we have to draw the line.
Right.
Because we can't do everything.
This demarcation and making a boundary is important.
Yes, sir. So demarcation is very important because you can't study everything. And even if you can study everything, you can't remember everything.
Correct.
You have to produce that in the exam.
Right.
So we have to see the previous year question papers, how they are asking, what is the pattern. and seeing that if you go to market or if you go to some online sources, you can easily figure out who is copying and pasting the content, and who is analyzing it. So analysis is important, and that's where we can focus. And like Utkarsh said, from an engineering background and having mechanical engineering as an optional, we didn't have to think about what is our optional. So we could focus more on GS subject in the beginning, and then we got to know that which one to study and how to where to draw the line.
Usually engineers are used to of solving problems and very calculating, or maybe numerical oriented, formula based study, concept based study. So when it comes to the answer writing part in the mains examination, these things doesn't fit in the general studies. So what you did to develop your answer writing practice?
So initially we faced problems because, as you said, engineering is totally analytical and it's like more numerical kind of approach. But in GS subjects we have to write it. We have to write the a good conclusion, and good introduction is always important. So for that, I think only thing important is practice. You have to practice. There is no shortcut. Like no one can tell you that this is the answer and you will reproduce it in the exam. So I practiced a lot. I practiced on my own, checked the answers on my own, and evaluated myself with the model answers provided by the sources. So I think for me personally, I think practice was the key.
Utkarsh, one special question from you is that you have cleared all the 3 exams conducted by UPSC. One is engineering services, then forest services, then civil services. What similarity you saw in these 3 and what difference you saw in these 3?
So,
in mechanical part, I'm talking as a mechanical engineer.
So as far as mechanical engineering subject is there, so civil services mechanical engineering is little bit easier, I feel, as compared to forest services and engineering services.
Oh, so mechanical in civil services is easier.
Easier as compared to forest and engineering services.
So does it mean a student who has already prepared for engineering services, he will feel lighter in civil services?
Yes, sir, definitely, sir. So if a particular candidate has cleared engineering services, then he'll feel confident for going for mechanical engineering optional in civil services also. And if I go by the previous year papers, if I see the previous year papers, then I definitely felt that the level of questions being asked in civil services is comparatively easier as compared to engineering services. Because in civil services, their point is not to check our mechanical engineering skills. They need to check our total skills, which include GS, mechanical engineering and all. So as a result of that, the level of difficulty in civil services as far as mechanical engineering is little bit less.
Deepak, what books or sources you will recommend those who are freshers, like they are in undergraduate students in college, they want to begin with the GS? So do you recommend NCRTs or some other sources?
So to begin with, for some, there are different sources for different subjects. So for some subjects like history or ancient history particularly, and medieval history, and also the other parts like culture, we should start with NCRT. But for other subjects like political science, there are some standard books like M. Lakshmikant, which is referred by everyone, and it gives a detailed description about everything. So even if you start from scratch, you'll be able to understand. But for subjects like history, if you start from some other sources, you can get confused because there is a timeline.
So for every subject, a different source, or for selected subjects, NCRT, for the remaining subjects, some good authored books. That can be suggested. And what is the right time to begin the preparation after passing out from the college, or students may start from second year, third year?
I think, sir, if one is clear with the aim, like he is clear with the aim that he wants to get into civil services or he wants to get into any particular government sector, then he should start preparing in the college days only. Like final year is the perfect time. So if he has decided that he'll be going for competitive exam, then he'll not be sitting in campus placement and all. He'll be focusing on the civil services or any other competitive exam. So the right time is to start preparing in the final year. And then once, if we get that boost, like if we get that push in the final year, then definitely a person can clear it in the final year itself, or after passing out, or it will take only 1 or 2 year max to clear this particular exam, sir.
Prelims exam is again a difficult stage because now we have seen in last couple of years many students they have prepared mains, they are ready for the mains, but they have not been able to clear prelims itself. So for the prelims, what is strategy, and do you think that last 3-4 months are sufficient, or more initial planning is required 6 months before or 1 year before?
So like I didn't bifurcate my study in prelims and mains part. So I continued with prelims and mains together.
Right.
So right from start I was focusing on prelims as well as mains.
Right.
So this strategy of focusing on prelims only in last 3-4 months is not right.
Right.
I feel that you should prepare for prelims and mains.
It has to be integrated.
Sir.
So Deepak, what was your approach? It was integrated for the prelims and mains, or it was bifurcated?
Sir, for me it was a little bit different.
Right.
Because I was working in BPCL previously,
Okay.
and I had only 4 months to prepare for prelims and mains as well.
Right.
So after coming from BPCL, I started preparing mechanical engineering
Okay.
with the coaching which I studied from a T batch in Medicine itself.
Okay.
So I studied mechanical engineering for 2 months and kept 2 months for prelims.
Right.
And I solved as many questions as possible.
Okay.
And if a round figure I can give, I think I solved around 8,000 questions for prelims.
Okay.
And I think those questions helped me to attempt as many questions as possible in the main exam, in the final exam which I gave, because most of the questions which will come in prelims you will not be knowing them.
Correct.
You have to guess them intelligently. You have to refer them from different sources which you did while preparing for the exam. So even in this attempt also, I had only 1 month for prelims, because last year.
So you first came and prepared for the optional like
yes,
engineering. You took the MEDG classes, and
Yes,
then
sir.
you continued prelims and right.
Yes.
Utkarsh, my question is that students have lot of fear from current affairs, because
Yes,
over the past few years we have seen prelims paper is bit current oriented.
Yes.
Yes.
For the current affairs, what sources you recommend? Which newspapers, which magazine, which online portals you would recommend?
So I think there are 2 standard newspapers which every person goes through. Like I did The Hindu as well as the Indian Express.
Right.
So while I was preparing for prelims and mains, so I read The Hindu only. After my mains, after clearing mains, when I was preparing for interview, I went through both the newspapers, the Hindu as well as the Indian Express. And as far as the current affairs is concerned, I prepared current affairs from the newspaper.
Okay.
Then I also took help from various online portals available. Like I took help from Insights, they give daily current affairs. Then Vision monthly magazine we can also refer. And for the interview guidance, I took help of NEXTIAS current affairs classes conducted by AP Singh sir and
Ruchika.
yes, Ruchika. So all these sources helped me while preparing for current affairs. So my aim was to go through newspaper, make notes out of it, and then take help from the Vision IS or Insights magazine.
Okay.
So this was my approach.
And what was the approach for improving the technical mains part for the like test series or anything which you did yourself, or you?
So for technical test series, I took the test papers of the NEXTIAS only. For mechanical engineering, the test papers were available, so I took help from those test papers. And for mechanical engineering optional, I think the previous year papers are very essential.
Important.
Yes, sir.
And thankfully, NEXTIAS came up with the previous year paper solution. So previously there were no solution available in the market. So with the help of those NEXTIAS previous year solution, I was able to solve as many previous year papers I can.
Right. Deepak, because what happens usually, engineers, they are more focused to technical part,
Yes.
and GS part becomes difficult. So how you balanced your preparation for optional and GS?
So
How many hours you used to give in the technical and how many hours in GS?
Yes. So like this was my second interview. So the problems which I found in my preparation last year was that I got very less marks in GS. I got decent marks in mechanical, but I got very less marks in GS. So in this attempt, what I did was that I prepared mechanical. I had my mechanical prepared, so I gave more time to GS.
Okay.
And initial 1 month I only did GS only after prelims.
Right.
So there is around 3-4 months gap in prelims and mains.
Right.
So if you have your mechanical prepared, so you can give around 2-3 hours daily to revise some important concept which you think that you will forget in a long time.
Right.
So I wrote many answers as many answers as possible. I went through newspapers. I went through standard answers which were given by previous toppers. I saw what they write, how they conclude. So because only knowledge is not important. Writing them and producing them is more important.
Correct.
And it's always difficult to produce if you have many sources and you are not revising them.
That's
So I revised as many times as possible and wrote the actual answers and got it checked through sometimes myself and go through some of my friends.
Right. Usually Paper 4 of GS ethics portion, that is again a challenge and very subjective. So paper 4 and then essay paper, these are the two areas where the engineers usually face difficulty. You take any extra precaution on this or developed writing practice on it?
First of all, I went through the syllabus.
Right.
So there are certain terms available in the syllabus like ethics, morals, integrity. What is like honesty? What are the values essential for a civil servant?
Right.
So I went through all the syllabus. Then I started looking for the definition of those major points given in the syllabus.
Right.
So after going through the syllabus and going through the definition,
right,
I went through the examples.
Right.
For writing ethics paper, the essential point is that we have to illustrate it with the help of examples.
Correct.
So even in the question itself, they ask us about giving personal examples as well as any other example of any civil servant or any public servant. So the three major parts I'll like suggest to every candidate, every aspirant is that first of all, you have to go through the syllabus, then
right,
you have to search for the definition, and then for the examples which you can support while writing your answer. And for the essay, I think, sir, writing is very essential.
Very essential.
Like we need not study separately for essay. Like we study a lot in general studies. We can write essay with the help of the content which we have developed while preparing for general studies. So essay, I think we can score higher marks in essay, which is very high scoring. So for that, I think writing is very essential. And we have to develop certain examples, anecdotes, facts. We have to be ready with facts, anecdotes, and examples while writing essay. So this is what I did.
Finally, coming to the interview stage, you both have faced the engineering services interview and civil services interview and also forest services interviews. Already there is experience. When you appeared in mock interviews here in NEXTIAS and then you faced the civil services, what similarity you found and what were the important areas which they stressed in the actual interview?
Sir, I think like while giving mock interview and final civil service interview, like we can come up with the solutions to the problems which have been detected by the panel in the mock interview. So like I was not able to control certain activities while I was giving interview, like hand movement was there.
Okay.
So these points were suggested by various panelists in the mock interviews, and I was able to like use them while giving the final interview.
Deepak, what was your observation during the time of interview and the actual interview? What questions were asked in actual interviews?
So, like I gave mock interview from like NEXTIAS only last year.
Okay.
So first of all, I think that was the best part of NEXTIAS interview team was that number of panelists were five. Like in most of the other coaching classes, it is usually 3 or 4. So the environment was real, and I gave 2 mock interviews last year. And the major points which like being always comes, the question which always comes in the real interview also, like being an engineering graduate, why do you want to join civil services? You are wasting one seat of IIT Delhi or IIT, anything like that. So for that, even in the panel, in the mock panel also asked that question. So we had that answer prepared, and we could be like more confident, because in the real interview it comes as a sudden question from, it can come from any member.
It becomes difficult.
Yes, and it becomes difficult to explain because like in engineering, we don't only learn engineering, we even learn other values, other time management, leadership qualities. So those things, but we have to think that before going into the real interview. So these mock interviews prepare you, they work on your sitting posture, your answering style. So those are the things which I think mock interview have an important role in.
Utkarsh, do you remember any question of your interview of civil services 2018?
So my interview like revolved around the work profile, current affairs, and my home state.
Right.
So regarding work profile, they asked me about various challenges Indian Railways is facing.
Right.
What are the new projects coming up in Indian Railways?
Right.
So if you are made CRB of Indian Railways, what steps you will be taking? Then regarding my home state, they asked me about the since Uttarakhand is a new state, so they asked me about what improvement has been done in Uttarakhand after it's been given the status of a new separate state. Then about Haridwar, various tourism issues. Then about the current affairs. So when I was giving interview, the Balakot airstrike happened. The Jammu Kashmir attack happened. So they asked me about the security aspects of Jammu and Kashmir. So
all related to the current affairs, work experience, and the previous profile, academic part. And Deepak, the all areas touched from you also the current in part of the like work experience.
Yes, sir. Most of the questions in my interview was from my hobby.
Okay.
My hobby was mechanism designing in robotics.
Okay.
So most of the questions were revolving around robotics and automation in army, or this Sophia robot. What are the aspects? Where has it been manufactured? And some of the questions were also from Indian Railways. But the questions related to current affairs were very less, and I think there was no question from current affairs. For me, it was hobby and my background in mechanical engineering and my work profile in Indian Railways.
So, Utkarsh, my last question is that how was your experience with the Next IAS and in this journey of the selection of civil services?
So like I was part of MadeEasy group from
Right.
the engineering services preparation. So I took help from MadeEasy through test series program. Then while preparing for civil services, I took help of NEXTIAS in while preparing for interview. So I took interview guidance program. I also took help of MadeEasy for the NEXTIAS for the test series for mechanical engineering in civil services preparation.
Right.
So I think the material produced by NEXTIAS is sufficient enough to go through it, and it helps a lot. It compensates for the points which we have missed while reading standard books and NCRTs. So I think that way it helped me a lot.
Okay. And Deepak, how was your experience with the Next IAS?
So, like most of the points have been covered by Utkarsh, but even I was associated with MadeEasy while preparing for engineering services. I think the environment and the facilities which are there in the classrooms and the interaction with the teacher, it is much more amiable in Next IAS. Also, I joined Next IAS test series, and because of the efforts of Next IAS, I could clear mains last time, because there was no sources of solved papers from mechanical engineering for civil services, and Next IAS then provided the last 16 years solved papers, and also the interview guidance program which I joined. In that, they provided some material related with the my home state and my engineering subject, and even the background of the UPSC members, which then we could suit our requirements, and then we could produce such answers. Also, I think the interview panelist in the Next IAS guidance program, they were highly qualified, and the number was as it is in UPSC, and the idea of awarding marks in mock interview, I think that was much more important, so that you can evaluate where do you stand among a
So you
group.
can gauge yourself.
Yes, sir. So that's the.
So this was the discussion with the toppers of Civil Services 2018, and Next IAS provides the guidance for the general studies, pre-com main foundation courses, mains advanced courses, and optional subjects, and also the test series and interview program postal course is also available. And if you are an aspirant for the civil services examination, you can take any help from us. Stay tuned, keep motivating yourself. Thank you.